喜发财. Hi everyone, it's Tash and welcome to another recipe video, and today we're going to be making steamed water chestnut cake for Chinese New Year, which starts today. Timestamps are down below in the description if you'd like to skip the initial blah blah, but stick around to hear a little bit more about the recipe ahead of making it first. The steamed water chestnut cake is a Cantonese dish. You often see it served in dim sum parlours during Chinese New Year, and it's usually served warm, but also sometimes served chilled, and sometimes also fried. So it's a little bit of a versatile sweet dish. I like it always. Whoops, my chili's getting out of control. But the actual base of the recipe is very simple and relatively quick to whip up too. The Chinese name for this is ma ti gao, at least that's how you say it in Mandarin. Cantonese, ma tai gao. Apologies for the awful Cantonese pronunciation, I cannot speak Cantonese. I can barely speak Mandarin, to be honest. Survival level. And before you ask, no, you cannot substitute the water chestnut flour. Any other flour is going to have a completely different texture when you cook it. It has to be water chestnut, and it's the whole point of this cake anyway, because it is a water chestnut cake. It's a steamed cake and it's a little bit jelly-like, a little bit mochi-like. I really love the texture. And we have some crunchy, whole chopped water chestnuts in there too. So with all that said, let's go to the kitchen and see how it's done. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to oil a 7x7 or an 8x8 inch pan. Just drop a little bit of vegetable oil in there. And I'm just going to use some kitchen paper and spread it around. And the reason why I said either 7 or 8x8 inch is because originally when I first made this recipe I had an 8x8 inch pan, but it was straight up, so it was all the same dimensions, whereas this one is a little bit flared. And my old pan fit very neatly in my steamer, but this one, because it flares out a bit, doesn't fit very well. So if you can't get like a straight up and down and a short 8x8 inch square pan, use a 7x7 one, because we're not going to fill this all the way to the top anyway. So a 7x7 inch one will still fit. Anyway, this is nice and oiled. Let's move on to the next step. Now here I have 600 milliliters of water. This is just cold water. I'm going to pour it all in my pan. Now bear with me because there's going to be a method to my madness. If I had 2 measuring jugs I would use 2, or at least 2 big enough, but this is how I'm going to do it. So in our empty measuring jug I'm going to add 120 grams of water chestnut flour. Remember, this is not chestnut flour, this is specifically water chestnut flour. 2 very different things, and no, you cannot substitute. And if you want a little close-up of the brand I use, this is what it looks like. There are a couple of different brands out there, but make sure it says pure water chestnut flour. And we're going to stir in about half of our water. See what I mean about method to my madness? Just going gradually so there are no lumps. And yes, the water chestnut flour is a bit lumpy at first, but don't worry, it does dissolve. There we go. Once there are no more grainy bits, we're going to set this aside and we're going to pop the other half of this water onto our stove. Now on our stove I'm going to put the heat up medium to high, and I'm going to add about 180 grams of yellow rock sugar. You can also use brown slab sugar or even demerara sugar, but I like the taste of yellow rock sugar the best. Interestingly, when I usually buy this stuff, which I also get from my local Chinese supermarket, the crystals are a bit smaller. The box I bought was in massive chunks. So when I say 180 grams, it can be 170, 190, somewhere in between, because it's going to be unpredictable if you buy yellow rock sugar, how big your chunks are going to be and how precise it's going to be, but 180-ish should work. And this part's completely optional and non-traditional, but I also like to pop in a fresh pandan leaf as well, because I just really love the scent of pandan leaf. So I'm going to shred it a little bit. If you've seen me work with pandan leaf before, you know the score. Shred it, knot it so it's a bit easier to work with in one place, and drop it in. And we're just going to simmer this until the rock sugar is completely dissolved. Feel free to give it a stir every now and again to help it along. Actually, the rock sugar doesn't take that long to dissolve, even though it does look quite big and solid and scary. Once our sugar is completely dissolved, we're going to get rid of our spent pandan leaf. I wish you could smell this, it smells so good. Give it a bit of a squeeze to get rid of any extra liquids that we need. And now we're going to add in 50 grams of chopped water chestnuts. Again, don't substitute this for actual chestnuts, use water chestnuts. These ones I actually got from a tin. This is the brand I got. You can use any sliced or whole water chestnuts. In water, not in brine. Make sure it's just in water because you don't want salty, tangy chestnuts. If you can find fresh, good water chestnuts, use those instead. I have not managed to find any actually good tasting freshwater chestnuts in the UK, at least in London. So far in the years I've been making this, we did try it once to buy some, but they were sour, which is not good. Very unlike the fresh ones we had in China, which are super sweet. But yes, you can't go wrong with the tinned in water kind. So this is just 50 grams, which I've chopped up. Add to our syrup. And if you're using fresh ones, then you'll boil them for a minute to cook them, but since these are already cooked, we're not going to bother. And now we're going to bring in our starch mixture that we mixed with the water chestnut flour. Give it a stir first, because a lot of that starch will fall into the bottom. So stir it again. And now we're only going to add half to this, and this is going to do two things. One, it's going to thicken this just enough so that those water chestnuts will suspend evenly in our cake and not just float to the top. And two, not add enough so that it completely solidifies, because we want to put it in our tin to mould. So only adding half will be just enough to thicken it enough to suspend those little water chestnut bits. So while we add it, we're going to stir as we go. Remember, just half. And now we're going to stir this, and it cooks very fast, as you can see, until it's translucent. And as soon as it does that, straight off the heat. We're off the heat now onto a cool hob. As you can see, it cooks very quickly. If we had added all of that, then it would have just solidified and we wouldn't be able to mould it as well. So now let's stir in the rest of our starch water mixture. I always find some leftover undissolved tiny flecks of water chestnut starch in the mixture when I make this. Those are absolutely fine, they will cook down absolutely fine and translucent. Just make sure you don't have any giant chunks of starch in there. Excellent, now I'm going to pour this straight into our tin. We've got a prepared oil tin here. Pour it straight in. So we've got a sort of half cooked mixture here, which is exactly what we want. I'm going to tap it down a bit, and now we're going to steam it. Now I have it in the steamer. As you can see, my new pan doesn't fit quite as well. If you have a well-fitting pan inside your steamer, all you'll need is 20 minutes on medium heat. I may need up to 30 to account for any gaps and loss of heat, so 20 to 30 minutes depending on your steamer situation. Let's cover our lid, and I'll see you in about 25 to 30 minutes. It's actually only been 20 minutes, but I think we're already done. And we are! See how lovely and translucent the whole thing is? Well, you would be able to see if the steam would get out of the way. There we go. Right, I'm going to rescue this, and I'm going to put it on a cooling rack. Now all we have to do is let this cool down completely. You can serve it warm, but it's easy to pop out of the mould when it's cold. I actually like to chill it overnight, and there are two ways to serve it. You can serve it warm or chilled. I like it chilled in this form, but warm, fried, and I will show you how to do that once this has cooled down. Let it cool down completely before you pop it in the fridge, by the way. Once it's completely cool, I'm just going to ease the edges away with my fingers like this. Always use clean hands. I hope you're washing your hands before you cook. You should always do that. And I'm just going to literally do that and turn it out onto our chopping board, which I've also lined with a little bit of cling film. You don't have to do that, and just do that for extra non-stick insurance. It looks beautifully translucent. Now we're just going to cut it. You can cut it into any shapes you like. I like strips, so let's see. I'm going to cut it into thirds roughly. And before you say anything, I know, I missed a spot in a minute. Right about, hang on, wait for it. There, I missed that bit. Don't worry, I did go back in and cut that afterwards. And that is essentially it. Oh, these are so soft and jelly-like, like crystals, beautiful. Now you can just serve these as they are, but you can also fry them. Here I've just heated some vegetable oil in a pan, and we're just going to literally fry some slices. Just for a couple of minutes on each side until they're golden brown. Let's serve them. These smell amazing, super nutty, and these hot ones we've just fried smell really caramelised. Let's dig into one. Lovely. Gonna get a bit of a wiggle on. Let's try the cold one first. This is the one that's slightly chilled from the fridge. Cheers. It's so refreshing when it's cold. This would be a really good summer dessert, actually, if you chill it. Not too sweet, you've got a little bit of caramel flavour from that yellow rock sugar, but I bet this one will be even more caramelised because we fried it. Ooh, it's crisp. Let's take a bite of that one. Cheers. That one's like toffee. I love that firm jelly texture and the crunchy crisp water chestnuts as well that we've chopped up in there. So there you go, steamed water chestnut cake for Chinese New Year. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's recipe video, and I hope you'll join me next Wednesday for my next one. Get the full written recipe on my blog tashcakes.com, follow me on Instagram, I'm tashcakes.taste, and find me on TikTok too, I'm tashcakes there too, but my handle is food and slow motion. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to see more. Give this video a like if you liked it, help other people find it. Comment down below if you'd like me to make anything in particular, and I'll see you all next time. Be good, be nice, and have a good week. Jelly.